Imagine for a moment that everything you've learned about yourself, about reality, about your purpose, was merely a mirage. A dense fog of oblivion, carefully woven over eons. Have you ever felt that inexplicable restlessness, a subtle resonance, that whispers that there is something more, something vast and forgotten lurking deep within you? What if this sensation were not just a fantasy, but the very memory of your soul, crying out for recognition? For millennia, humanity has wandered through a labyrinth of illusions, convinced that we are limited beings, defined by our circumstances, our imposed beliefs, our fears. But what if the greatest lie ever told was not ignorance, but the conviction that we are what we are not? What would happen if you could peel back the veils, layer by layer, and unveil the primordial truth of your existence? I invite you on a journey that challenges everything you thought you knew about yourself and the universe. A journey to the core of your deepest identity. This video isn't meant to teach you something new, but to awaken what has always been dormant within you. Let's talk about a technique. Not just any technique, but the Forbiddens technique. Forbiddens, yes, but not because it's dangerous for those who practice it, but because it works. Because it works so well. Why would a technique of self-knowledge, of reviving one's essence, be banned, distorted, relegated to the status of legend or superstition? The answer is simple, and at the same time, frightening. Awakened souls are much more difficult to control than sleeping armies. Throughout history, ancient civilizations, from Egyptian masters to Greek philosophers and Hindu sages, have guarded the secret of this master key. But the knowledge was fragmented, the Forbiddens texts hidden, and the true essence, the ancient wisdom behind it, was suppressed. Have you ever wondered why such disparate cultures shared the same intuition that life is a dream or a veil? It is because truth resonates through the ages, manifesting in symbols and teachings that have been deliberately distorted or hidden to keep the majority in a state of spiritual amnesia. This video is Ariadne's thread that will guide you out of this labyrinth. I intend to reveal not only the principles behind this ancient practice, but the very essence of how it operates. You will discover how to activate a specific vibrational frequency within yourself, a kind of inner alchemy that causes falsehoods to dissolve and your purest truth to shine. It is a process of unlearning, of deprogramming, that will lead to your spiritual enlightenment, not like a bolt of lightning from the sky, but like the sun gradually rising, dispelling the shadows of illusion. We will explore the hidden mysteries surrounding this practice, delving into archaic symbols and revealing the connections between cosmic energy and your own divine constitution. I will guide you through clues, peeling back the layers of a mystery that humanity has been trying to unravel for ages. This is an opportunity to question your most deeply held beliefs, to see the world and yourself through new eyes. Prepare to receive rare, transformative knowledge, something you won't find easily. If you're ready to unlock your soul's greatest secret so it can finally remember who you truly are, then this is your moment. Like this post so more seekers can find this path. Share it with those you feel need to awaken, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next revelations on this journey of discovery. The truth awaits you, and it resides deep within your own being. The Forbiddens technique, my friends, is not merely a set of arcane rituals or forgotten chants. It is the master key to the ancient wisdom inscribed deep within every soul. A primordial memory that modernity has sought to suppress. Imagine for a moment that your soul is not a blank slate at birth, but a living codex, charged with the experience of ages, with the essence of the cosmic energy that formed it. Activating this memory is to awaken the cosmic librarian within you, the one who guards the hidden mysteries of your true stellar lineage. The Forbiddens texts, often dismissed as mere fables or delusions, such as the Nag Hammadi manuscripts or certain passages of the Vedas, contain veiled clues as to how this inner alchemy works. It is not external magic, but a harmonization of the vibrational frequencies of your subtle body with the primordial waves of the universe. It is a return to the state of original spiritual enlightenment, when the veil between the human and the divine was thin. The soul, when remembering, not only accesses information, it reconnects with a field of universal intelligence. It is a process of recognition, of unveiling. But if this memory is so vital, why was it hidden? And what are the implications of accessing it in a world that favors spiritual amnesia? Hidden, my dears, because freedom is the most dangerous currency for those who profit from servitude. Imagine a humanity that suddenly remembers its inherent connection to cosmic energy, that understands its capacity to manifest reality without the need for intermediaries or dogma. This ancient wisdom not only empowers, it dismantles. The memory it releases is a revolutionary force. The forbidden texts, often referred to as heretical or apocryphal, were not suppressed because they were false, but because they were too true, because they offered a direct route to spiritual enlightenment without the need for institutions that proclaimed themselves guardians of truth. The hidden mysteries reside not in a distant God, but in the immanent divinity that lies dormant within each of us. The inner alchemy that unfolds when activating this primordial memory is the transmutation of the lead of ignorance into the gold of sovereignty. Who would have an interest in keeping us in the dark? Those who benefit from our amnesia, who have built empires on the fragility of forgotten minds. The implication of accessing this memory is the rebirth of an autonomous being, a homo luminous, capable of seeing through the veils. But awakening can be a shock. What happens when the light reveals shadows that were once comfortable? What then are these cardinal points of ancient wisdom that have been so meticulously erased, hidden in the shadows of history? One of the pillars is the true understanding of inner alchemy, not as the vain transmutation of metals, but as the sublime art of refining one's own consciousness, elevating it from the lead of ignorance to the gold of spiritual enlightenment. The hidden mysteries are not revealed in sterile dogmas, but in the direct experience of the cosmic energy that flows through each being, connecting us to a universal tapestry invisible to the common eye. This invariably leads us to the deconstruction of reality itself. What we perceive as solid, as immutable, is in essence a holographic projection, a great veil that the collective mind has woven through eons of forgetfulness. And why does this matter so much? Because understanding the illusory nature of matter gives us the power to recreate, to manifest with pure intention, to transcend the limitations imposed by this great illusion. Many of the forbidden texts, such as the Nag Hammadi scrolls, which carry the voices of the Gnostics of ancient Egypt, or certain passages from the Papyri of Ani, speak not of a distant and inaccessible God, but of an inherent divine spark, of a spiritual illumination that is a return to our primordial origin. They whisper of humanity's true lineage, not as a flawed creation, but as beings of light imprisoned by amnesia, awaiting the Great Awakening. What is the role of the stars, lunar cycles, sacred geometries, and invisible portals in activating this memory? What if our own bodies are, in fact, living temples of mysteries yet to be unveiled? The great trick, my dear seekers, was not to make us ignorant, but to seduce us into believing we are something we are not, to convince ourselves of a forged identity, a limited and separate self. This is the most subtle of amnesias, the densest veil woven over our ancestral wisdom. Think about it. If the collective mind could weave the illusion of matter, could it not also create the illusion of a fragmented self? The profound deception is precisely this, to make us forget the cosmic energy that we are, the divine spark that pulsates in every cell. The hidden mysteries revealed in the forbidden texts, such as the Coptic scrolls of Chinaboskian, describe not an original sign, but a fall into the duality of perception, or the fullness of being fragmented into countless mirages. This fragmentation masks the spiritual enlightenment that is already ours by birthright. Inner alchemy, in this context, is not the search for something external, but the labor of stripping away layers of forgetfulness, dissolving false identifications. The inner voice, this forgotten melody, has never been absent. It has simply been silenced by the deafening noise of the lies we accept as truth. It is a call to remember what we already know, a whisper of our genuine essence. But how does this voice manifest itself? And the body, this temple we question, how does it hold the keys to this remembrance? For this ancient wisdom, my friends, was not merely forgotten. It was actively silenced, distorted, and disguised. Systems of power, whether religious or secular, have always feared individual spiritual enlightenment more than a sleeping army. An awakened being is uncontrollable, questioning free. This is why so many forbidden texts were burned, buried, or rewritten, transforming inner alchemy into mere superstition or black magic. What was once the sacred labor of transmuting the lead of ignorance into the gold of consciousness became empty rites, rigid dogmas that robbed man of his own divinity, his connection to cosmic energy. They convinced us that we were merely flesh and blood, limited by time and space, and not the extension of an infinite consciousness. The veil that separates us from ourselves was not only woven, but reinforced by millennia of doctrines that emptied life of its highest purpose, remembrance. What's more, they made us fear the temple itself, the body, the receptacle of that inner voice and the divine spark. The body, which should be the portal to the hidden mysteries, was demonized or reduced to a biological machine. But if the body is, in fact, a map, a living codex of our true nature, how can we decipher its coded messages? How can the subtle touch, the vital breath, the inner melody become the keys to unlocking this ancient wisdom? This wisdom, my dears, was not born by chance. It echoes from the secret chambers of Egyptian temples, where the hierophants understood the subtle anatomy of the being, not like today's doctors, but as cartographers of the cosmic energy that resides within us. In the Turin papyri and in fragments of Hermes Trismegistus figures often misinterpreted, transformed into mere myths, we find allusions to a process of inner alchemy that operated within the human microcosm. It was not a matter of transmuting metals, but consciousness itself. The subtle touch was known as the awakening of the serpent force, the kundalini of the yogis, an ethereal fire that ascended the spinal column, opening energetic portals and unveiling hidden mysteries that had lain dormant. The forbidden texts, so ardently sought by esotericists of all ages, are not merely written. They are coded experiences, instructions for reactivating this ancient wisdom dormant in every cell. They teach us that each nerve, each gland, each energy center is a node in a vast network that connects us not only to our own divinity, but to the universal pulse. This spiritual enlightenment is not a gift granted, but a rediscovery of our true nature, a return to the primordial state of communion with the whole. What if I told you that the instruments for this rediscovery are not in distant temples, but inscribed in our own bodies, waiting to be rediscovered, deciphered? What secrets, then, still lie dormant in our own flesh? Well, let us now delve into the paths of ancient Egypt, not the Egypt of the pharaohs and pyramids that official history portrays to you, but the Egypt of secret sanctuaries, the so-called houses of life. These were not mere archives of knowledge or scribal schools. They were veritable laboratories of consciousness, where priests, the true guardians of ancient wisdom, led the most dedicated on unparalleled journeys of inner alchemy. There, in the depths of the sacred precincts, manipulating cosmic energy through sounds, symbols, and substances, the initiates were subjected to rituals of symbolic death. It was not the end of physical life, but the annihilation of the ego, the fragmentation. of ordinary perception. It was a deliberate plunge into the abyss of the unconscious, guided by the skilled hands of the Hierophants, who used knowledge inscribed in the forbidden texts, those that conventional historiography insists on ignoring or discrediting, to diffuse the mind's defenses and allow the emergence of hidden mysteries. In these altered states, consciousness was guided beyond the veils of mundane reality, seeking spiritual enlightenment through fusion with the divine. The journey was perilous, transformative. But what exactly happened when the veil tore and the initiate confronted themselves in the vastness of non-being? And how does this experience of death reverberate in today's most secretive traditions? If in Egypt it was the symbolic death of the ego that opened portals in ancient Greece, the Orphic mysteries pursued an even more radical liberation, where the legendary Orpheus, with his lyre and song capable of moving stones and calming wild beasts, was not just a musician, but a hierophant of ancient wisdom. For the Orphics, the soul, a divine fragment, was imprisoned in the body, a vision, encapsulated in the famous phrase, Soma Sema, the body is tomb. Through rhythmic chants, deep breathing techniques, and carefully induced trance states, the initiates sought an unparalleled inner alchemy, the temporary separation of the soul from its carnal prison. Not a physical death, but an ecstasy that allowed consciousness to ascend, touch cosmic energy in its purest essence, and glimpse its divine origin. In these rituals, hidden mysteries were revealed, the truth about the cycle of rebirth, and the possibility of spiritual enlightenment through purification. Fragments of forbidden texts, such as the golden tablets found in Orphic tombs, guided the dead into the afterlife, confirming this journey of detachment and return to the source. But what would happen if the soul, once freed, not only glimpsed, but became this divinity, completely transcending the need for return? If the Orphics longed for the liberation of the soul, in ancient India, the rishis, seers of ancient wisdom, unveiled a more intimate mystery, Smirana. It was not learning, but remembering. For them, spiritual ignorance was not a lack of knowledge, but amnesia of the soul, a profound disconnection from its essence, from a fragment of the vast cosmic energy. We were mirrors obscured by the dust of worldly illusions. The return to spiritual enlightenment was a singular inner alchemy, unlearning, detaching oneself not only from the transitory, but also from egoic identifications, from the illusory memories that chain us, a purging of the layers of the superficial I, and emptying that allowed the hidden mysteries of pure consciousness to emerge. The forbidden texts for the rishis were innate truths that reveal themselves when the mind falls silent and the being remembers its divine heritage. But what if this memory was not just individual, but an echo of universal patterns that manifest themselves in all civilizations, waiting to be deciphered? This remembrance was not merely intellectual, an exercise in cognitive memory, but a profound inner alchemy. It was the attunement of the being to a primordial frequency, an echo of the vast cosmic energy that pulsates within each of us. Consider the legend of Orpheus, whose lyre not only enchanted beasts, but also altered the very fabric of reality, opening portals. Similarly, this ancient technique, unveiled by the rishis and preserved in certain forbidden texts, such as the Hermetic ones, which whisper about the vibration of the word, does not seek to add something new. On the contrary, it operates through resonance. By activating a specific frequency within oneself, a pure vibration emanating from the very ancient wisdom of the universe, the dissonances, the falsehoods that shroud innate spiritual enlightenment, begin to disintegrate. It's like a tuning fork that, when vibrating at the correct note, causes other tuned instruments to begin to resonate, and the out-of-tune ones, with their dissonant notes, to fall silent or break. The hidden mysteries that imprison us are vibrational, webs of illusion, When the true frequency of the higher self is activated, this web unravels, revealing the crystalline essence behind the veil. It's not about seeking the truth out there, but about being the truth, about vibrating at one's own original frequency. But how then does this internal resonance, this melody of the soul, manifest in the external world? And what doors might it open beyond mere individual perception? This journey, my friends, unfolds in 3 archetypal phases, non-linear but interpenetrating, like the veils of Isis that reveal themselves with each step of deepening. The first, which I would dare call the dawn of essence, is the phase of reconnection. Here, the ancestral wisdom latent in every cell is awakened not by an act of brute will, but by a delicate attunement, a whispered call to the very substance of the being. It is the moment when inner alchemy begins to heat the crucible of the soul, preparing it for fusion. The hidden mysteries of one's own energetic biography are highlighted, not for judgment, but for discernment. It is not about accumulating knowledge, but about unveiling that which has always been there, hidden by the fog of ignorance. Those forbidden texts, which speak of the universal first matter, do not refer to a mineral, but to the formless purity of the self, before the projections of the ego. This phase is the recognition of the divine spark, the activation of the vessel for cosmic energy. The second stage, the forge of enlightenment, is where this spark transforms into a burning flame. It is the vibrational intensification, the purification process where dissonances, the crystallized memories of pain and limitation, are confronted and transmuted. It is here that true spiritual enlightenment begins to pierce the layers of illusion, not by explosion, but by continuous radiation. And the third, which we call the mirror of Urania, is the phase of manifestation and integration. But how does this manifestation unfold beyond the limits of the individual, impacting the greater web of existence? Genuine manifestation, however, is only possible when Urania's mirror reflects not the mask, but the original face. Herein lies the most intimate and transformative challenge, the deprogramming of the false self. From our first breath, we are bombarded by external narratives, absorbed beliefs, and other people's expectations that solidify into layers of a borrowed identity. Let us think of the ancient occult mysteries, which already warned about the persona, the theatrical mask that the individual presents to the world, confusing it with their essence. This ancestral wisdom taught that true inner alchemy is not merely the transmutation of lead into external gold, but the purification of the being of all psychic impurities that prevent it from resonating with cosmic energy. How can we discern the true from the impostor? Through deep observation, through the silence that reveals the echoes of external voices in our own sanctuary. The forbidden texts are often not about arcane magic, but about the unveiling of inner deception, a spiritual enlightenment that arises from the courage to strip oneself bare. Every inauthentic belief, every thought that is not one's own, but an echo of the collective, is a veil that obscures the divine spark. Releasing these bonds is an act of spiritual sovereignty, a journey to the core of who we truly are. But what if, upon removing the masks, we encounter a frightening void? What is revealed when the last layer is dissolved? This emptiness that undracing reveals is not absence, but rather fertile ground for a more subtle, non-logical perception to manifest. When the mental noise, the echoes of deprogramming, finally quiets, what the ancient occult mysteries called the eye of the heart, or the vision of the soul, emerges. This ancestral wisdom, preserved in silent chants and rituals, points to an inner sense that transcends the 5 ordinary senses and rational logic itself. We awaken this capacity through practices as simple as they are profound. Conscious breathing, which calms the waves of the mind, turning it into a mirror of water. Silent rituals that anchor us in the pure present. And the visualization of universal symbols. Think of the inner flame, a beacon of spiritual enlightenment burning at the center of our being, or the lotus of the heart blossoming into pure inner alchemy, revealing the petals of truth. The mirror of the soul, in turn, reflects the uninterrupted dance of cosmic energy, allowing us to grasp not only the visible, but the pulsating invisible that permeates everything. Many forbidden texts were prohibited not for their literal heresy, but for revealing that true divinity resides within, accessible through this refined intuition. This perception, once activated, allows us to discern the subtle vibrations of the universe. But what happens when this vision extends beyond the self to the invisible interconnections that form the very fabric of reality? It is precisely at this point of expanded perception that we are invited to tune into the most intimate frequency of our own being. We are not speaking of a pronounceable name, a set of letters or sounds that the mouth can articulate. No, we refer to a sacred vibration, a unique tone that resonates in the depths of your soul, your true hidden name. The ancient wisdom, whispered in the hidden mysteries of initiatory schools, has always known that each being possesses an unmistakable, energetic signature, a primordial melody. The forbidden texts, sometimes veiled in allegory, alluded to this truth. The idea that you do not become who you are, but rather remember. It is a moment of profound spiritual enlightenment, a sudden recognition, and, yes, I have always been this. I simply forgot. This awakening is the essence of inner alchemy, the process of peeling back the layers of conditioning, of external expectations, to reveal the rough diamond of your essence. When this resonance occurs, the cosmic energy that composes it aligns perfectly with the universal frequency, dissolving the illusion of separation. But what does it truly mean to embody this frequency? And how does this intimate recognition transform not only the individual, but also the fabric of reality around them? This is where the true journey unfolds, not as a sudden quantum leap, but as an intricate process of unveiling. This is inner alchemy in its purest form, a work of dedication and brutal self-honesty. Each layer of illusion, each veil of social conditioning and limiting belief that disintegrates, allows the inner vibration to purify itself, elevating itself. It is like removing the ancient dust from an ancient mirror, allowing it to reflect the truth without distortion. In this space of clarity, the soul does not think to remember. It simply is. It is ancestral wisdom emerging from a deep well, an innate knowledge that has always been there, only obscured by the hidden mysteries of oblivion. Then arise the presences that reside at the core of your being. Unconditional love that demands nothing in return, fearless trust that defies worldly logic, and an inherent knowing that transcends any intellectualization. This is spiritual enlightenment in its most organic manifestation. The cosmic energy that formed you recognizes itself in you, and you, in turn, recognize your origin not as a theory of the forbidden texts, but as a profound and undeniable experience. But if the soul remembers without thinking, and if our true origin is revealed in this purification, what happens to the thin line that separates the individual self from the vastness of the universe? And how does this primordial memory redefine the very nature of the reality we perceive? But on this journey back to the source, there is a facet of memory that many hesitate to face: the shadow. True ancient wisdom lies not only in the remembrance of the light that we are, but in the courage to delve into the hidden mysteries that inhabit our depths. Remember, the process of spiritual enlightenment is not a fairy tale where only beauty flourishes. It is an inner alchemy, painful, yes, but transformative. It is the act of confronting what we are not, the echoes of past mistakes that still echo in our present, the unfinished choices that weigh on the soul, the unhealed wounds that drain our cosmic energy. This is true freedom, untying the knots that bind us to the past. Some forbidden texts, rarely understood, whisper about this necessary descent into the unconscious, not as a punishment, but as a rite of passage to wholeness. They reveal that the fullness of our essence is intrinsically linked to the acceptance and integration of these fragmented parts of ourselves. To ignore the shadow is to deny a vital part of our being, and thus prevent spiritual enlightenment from manifesting in its fullness. What is revealed when the mirror of the soul reflects not only the light, but also the scars and dark contours? And how does this total vision alter the perception of time itself? Well, it is precisely at this point that the ancient masters spoke of voluntary suspension. It is not a sleep, nor an escape, but a conscious immersion, a deliberate trance state where the soul, freed from the bonds of the ego and the illusions of consensual reality, takes the reins of perception. It is a portal to an expanded consciousness where clarity becomes crystal clear, intuition an infallible beacon. Time, that straight line that imprisons us, dissolves, revealing itself as a tapestry where past, present, and future coexist. In this liminal space, the veils dissolve, and access to ancestral wisdom becomes palpable. Not only the wisdom of one's direct ancestors, but the collective memory of humanity, the hidden mysteries inscribed in the very fabric of being. It is here that memories of past lives can emerge not as fragmented dreams, but as vivid experiences, providing keys to repetitive patterns and unfulfilled missions. Inner alchemy intensifies as cosmic energy flows freely, unhindered by the Shin, barriers of the linear mind. Some forbidden texts, those that orthodoxy sought to silence, describe in detail the methods for achieving this profound spiritual enlightenment, revealing that the true journey lies in unraveling what already resides within us. But what happens when this soul awakens, not in an individual, but in a collective? This is a question whose answer unfolds at the very heart of living from a new center. For the individual, this metamorphosis is not a search for novelty, but a profound and resonant remembrance. Social masks, cultivated for convenience, dissolve when the soul pulsates at its original frequency. You don't learn who you are. You forget what you are not. It is the purest inner alchemy, transmuting illusion into essence. Imagine a constant vibration, an ancestral echo, ever present yet dormant. This is the home the soul recognizes. By realigning with it, decisions become crystal clear, guided by an innate ancestral wisdom. Relationships flourish in honesty without veils. Fear, the shadow of the ego, diminishes, replaced by a serene confidence that emanates from this spiritual enlightenment. The hidden mysteries of the self are unraveled not by study, but by attunement. Forbidden texts, whispers from forgotten ages, describe this as a return to the primordial self, a conscious fusion with cosmic energy. But if this home is a universal vibration, what would it mean for a collective to resonate with it simultaneously? But if this home is a universal vibration, what would it mean for a collective to resonate with it simultaneously? The real challenge is to transmute this perception into daily experience. Integrating the technique isn't about adding a ritual, but about allowing inner alchemy to reframe each moment. An everyday decision, a dialogue, a moment of silence, everything aligns with an inherent ancestral wisdom. Spiritual enlightenment is not an endpoint, but the light that guides each step, transforming the ordinary into an active consciousness. Hidden mysteries are revealed not in mystical visions, but in the depth of a gaze, in the synchronicity of an event. The ancient forbidden texts, often misunderstood, did not deny the material world, but taught how to imbue it with cosmic energy, the vital pulse that animates everything. Thus, everyday life becomes the crucible where the soul fully manifests. But what happens when this manifestation transcends the individual self, touching the web of interconnections that surround us? As the sacred dance of manifestation extends beyond the singular eye, touching the intricate web that binds us, ponder. If our individual spirit houses a universal vibration, what symphony emerges when countless souls resonate in conscious harmony? This is the true mystery, not just awakening within, but radiating that truth outwards, co-creating a new dawn from shared vibrational essence. What collective alchemy, what unimagined potentials do you believe we could unlock together in this interwoven reality? Share your deepest insights below. If this transmission resonated, share it with those who seek similar truths and subscribe from our revelations. To deepen your understanding of cosmic currents, explore Unlocking the Collective. Soul, the power of shared consciousness.